Good morning. Good morning and welcome to everybody to our multi-platform service for the Unitarian Church of Staten Island. We're very glad to see you this morning. For those of you who are joining us in person, it's great to have you here. Please be sure to maintain social distancing, although masks are now optional. During the service, you'll sing along with the hymns and read along to responsive readings if there are any. Those of you who are attending in person, you're invited to join us in the parish hall for hospitality after service through that door over there. For those of us who are joining us online, we send special greetings to you. We hope you take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat box. And after service, you are all invited to join each other in a virtual coffee hour. Our weekly gatherings include our women's group via Zoom on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. So you see Kathy Santo if you have questions about that. And our men's group, Tom Saluga can give information about that group. Please support our social media outreach. This is very important. Please like or share our weekly posts to Facebook and Instagram. And remember that all of our services are on YouTube. And you know, sometimes people have said to me, oh, well, I don't have a Facebook account. You don't have to have a Facebook account. Our Facebook page is public. Just go to Facebook, just in the search, put Unitarian Church of Staten Island, and you'll get right to our Facebook page, and then just like and love away. We would appreciate that. And for those of us who are here in the sanctuary, we gently remind you, and me, by the way, to please silence your mobile devices at this time. And now, as soon as I silence mine, let us prepare for this morning's service. Our opening words are from Thich Nhat Hanh, "Peace is every step." When I was in Vietnam, so many of our villages were being bombed. Along with my monastic brothers and sisters, I had to decide what to do. Should we continue to practice in our monasteries, or should we leave the meditation halls in order to help the people who were suffering under the bombs? After careful reflection, we decided to do both. Go out to help the people, but to do so in mindfulness. We called it engaged Buddhism. Mindfulness must be engaged. Once there is seeing, there must be acting. Otherwise, what's the use of seeing? We must be aware of the real problems in the world. Then, with mindfulness, we will know what to do and what not to do to be of help. I invite you to join us in lighting our chalice. You can find the affirmation in your order of service. We light this chalice in the search of truth, in the spirit of love. We unite in worship and fellowship. As an extension of lighting our chalice, I want to take a moment of silence to light these candles for some of the names of those who have recently been affected by police brutality. We cannot cover all the names of those affected. So we will light a candle for the life of Talmadge Bryant, for the life of Javier Flores, and for the life of Basha McDonald. May these lights be a symbol of our commitment to continue the work of racial justice and to proclaim Black Lives Matter. And now, please join us in singing hymn number 1028, Fire of Commitment, in your teal hymnal.
He drives and joins. And this is a peppy one. Sing out. From the light of days remember, words are weak and bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. Stories of our living brings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. And the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way. When we live with assurance of the flame that burns within, and our promise finds fulfillment, and our future can begin. The dreams of youthful vision from the new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice, built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
Now is the time in our service for joys and sorrows. If you're visiting us for the first time, this is the time when you can introduce yourself. For those who are gathering in person, we invite you to raise your hand and then stand and say your name where you're seated. I will give you the microphone to share your joy or sorrow. We invite you to share what is in your heart. For those who are joining us online, we invite you to type into the chat your joys and sorrows. Ben will then read them aloud. We invite you to share what's in your heart. Okay. Is this on? Can you all hear me? Okay.
Hi, I'm Ryan. So last week I did a speech at the fundraiser for Makeup on Wheels. I don't, if you don't know what it is, it's a non-for-profit organization run by the woman who has CP, and it was a great speech. There was a lot of fun. It was a golf outing at Veterans Road. This week, my classes start. So I will conclude my junior year in May after the full months of classes, spring classes that's starting this Thursday. And the third is I was offered a job offer that will work 3 hours a week, 2 days, 2 hours on on starting February 3rd and 1 hour February 4th. So I'm working with someone who has CP, the same woman who runs the organization.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Clark, and as most of you know by now, my wife Carolyn had uterine cancer, had it out, did a whole series of chemo, had her first CAT scan, and it was good. Friday, she had her second CAT scan, again, no sign of cancer, and had her blood test, and within the normal ranges. So very good news, but her doctor had to kind of read her the riot act. She's staying in bed all the time. She's having trouble getting the energy to get up and accept that she is, at least for now, cured. So please keep her in your thoughts and prayers. I think it's mostly now psychological that she has to overcome to get back into the world. Thank you.
We're going to go on that famous Facebook page and say, Carolyn, get back here. We need you. Anybody else?
Okay, we have a lot of people online sharing. Make sure I don't miss anyone. Okay. Suzanne O'Callahan. John was in the hospital for 5 days. He is home in California and doing fine. Also seeing Vicky this morning. I appreciate knowing her for over 70 years. And she looks like such a baby. Bonnie says, sorrow for the worldwide political climate, joy for the small things in life, and seeing the resilience of life and nature. Virginia Allen, the opening of the exhibit, The Black Nurses Worked at Seaview Hospital during the tuberculosis pandemic, will be opening January 25 for members, January 27th for general public. Please check Staten Island Museum. Michael Stein, very, very glad Carolyn is doing well. Hope John gets better soon. For me, I'll just say, my name is Ben Maxwell. I haven't talked a lot in the last couple of months. My sorrow has been I've been out of work since October. I know some of you know this. Kind of been facing what I think is a toxic workplace. So I'm getting a joy out of that because I've been working and getting more involved in church since I've had more time. If you haven't seen it, I did a sermon last month. It's on the YouTube, and I wouldn't have had the time to do that if I, was working. And also putting together this concert next month. I did send, if you remember, that sermon was based on Martin Hagland. I sent that to him, and he sent a kudos reply, so he actually watched it. So I was thrilled to get a thumbs up from the guy who wrote the philosophy book I was quoting. That was thrilling. And, I just want to say thanks to my wife for supporting me and making sure I could, be, helpful through this time.
Thanks, Ben. Yes.
So I'm Sarah Dolan. I'm the co-chair of membership, and it's membership that is doing the concert that Ben just talked about, though Ben is definitely chairing that committee for that concert. It's a Black History Month celebration where we will be celebrating both Black American music, but also our own abolitionist foundings And Ben had the idea to reach out to Curtis High School, named after one of our abolitionist founders, to have their jazz band come. And, he's made a connection with the band leader, and it should be great. At first, it was going to be a fundraiser, and then we decided to make it based on a donation, a small donation, because we're trying to create community here. So there's multiple goals for this concert, which is why you don't yet have a press release, Ruth. Yes. So, but please talk to Ben about it, because he really is the one that's shaping this. So we do have a committee, and it should be great. And I hope that philosopher did not reach out to you because he has time, because he doesn't have work. I hope that's not the case, which is what I immediately thought when you said that he responded. Anyway, that's it. Please come to that concert February 9th, and we will come up with a press release on February 9th here in the parish hall. It's a Friday night.
Just keep in, what was that? Oh, he works for Yale. And keep an eye on your social media for our information about this fabulous concert that we need to know. All the things that you just mentioned in detail, and we'll get it for you.
Hello, my name is Rebecca. I have a joy that my membership service is next week. So very soon we'll be signing the membership book, and I'm very looking forward to it. And I'll go ahead and speak on behalf of my partner, Patrick. His father yesterday had a successful heart surgery. He had to have a pacemaker put in, but it went very smoothly. He was able to go home that same day. So lots of joy. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carol. I belong to a book club at the Toad Hill Library. And this month, well, actually, it'll go into February in honor of Black History Month, the librarian has chosen the Black Angels, which of course is the story of the nurses at Seaview Hospital. And the surviving Black Angel is Virginia Allen, member of our congregation. Well, he announced that we are going to get a visit by the author and Virginia. So that should be interesting. And then the book club itself decided to take we're going to take a little, side trip to Snug Harbor, because they have, starting I think Friday, they have the exhibit, which is an audio visual. So anybody who's interested might want to take that in. No, it will be at the library. It'll be open to everyone, but primarily because the book was the book that was chosen for this month. Toad Hill Westerly, up on Victory Boulevard. Yeah, so, yeah. I mean, once I get, they're working out the date, they have to, but once they have the date, maybe I can let you know. Yeah, yeah, that'd be nice.
We try really hard to stay in touch with that. We try really hard to stay in touch with you folks, but you have to look at where we're talking, okay? Okay, who else?
Hi, excuse me. Hi, I'm Luca. My sorrow and joy. As of yesterday, I just officially finished moving out of an intentional community that I'd been a member of for like 12 years and had to leave due to a toxic situation that, despite my best efforts over the course of about 1.5 to 2 years, seemed the only way was for me to leave. So I moved, so I'm somewhere nearby now, and my joy is that I'm finding community elsewhere, such as here. There's an online community called Rooted Global Village, which is very good on like inclusivity and safe spaces as well. So yeah, just hopeful.
Thank you.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Chris. So I have a joy, but I did want to tag on to Miss Carol, which is that it's the Staten Island Museum where the book and the exhibit is going to be, and it does open on Friday, but there is a reception on Thursday. So I'm presuming that in this continuing year of Virginia, that might be an opportunity if people want to see and be seen on Thursday at the Staten Island Museum. And then my other joy is, as I like put a couple of cans in the little free food pantry this morning. It was pretty much filled up. There was lots of things there. So I'm really trusting that it's really catching on with our community and the larger community around us. And kudos to everybody. Thank you. Anybody else? No. Okay.
Thank you for sharing your joys and sorrows, and also for those held silently in your hearts. So, now we're going to pause for meditation. I'm going to offer a quote to focus our meditation, and then I'm going to ring the chime. And at that point, I invite you to begin the meditation with 3 deep breaths. After a few minutes, I will ring the chime again to mark the end of our time. This is today's quote, and it's from Thich Nhat Hanh. Breathing in, I calm body and mind. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is the only moment. I'd like to take this moment to bring our guest speaker, who I'll introduce a little bit later, just up to the pulpit to give today's reading. And this is Reverend Karen Pershing, our dear friend.
A reading from the book of Isaiah, chapter 58, verses 6 through 8 and 10. Is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen? To loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke? Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter? When you see the naked, to clothe them, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood? Then your light will break forth like the dawn, and your healing will quickly appear. Then your righteousness will go before you, and the glory of the Lord will be your rear guard. And if you spend yourselves in behalf of the hungry and satisfy the needs of the oppressed, then your light will rise in the darkness, and your night will become like the noonday.
So now we have the offertory. This is the time in our order of service where we take an offering. We know it's the gifts of all of us that help support our ability to thrive and gather. For those attending in person, we will be passing around the collection plate. For those online, links and instructions are posted in the chat. You can mail us a check or donate through the PayPal giving page on our website. Please give as generously as you can. Our offerings will be gratefully received. And now we have our offertory music, and it's The Crowded Table by Natalie Hembley, Laurie McKenna, and Brandy Carlisle.
You can hold my hand when you need to let go. I can be a mountain when you're feeling down below. I can be a street light showing you the way home. You can be through my hand when you need to let go. I want a house with a golden table and a place I can find forever.
Grab your grade number 118. I'll bet a whole lot of you heard this verse when you were like 2 or 3 years old. Stand and join us with the team together. 118. Ready? This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Okay. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker, Reverend Karen Pershing. Reverend Karen is a coalition builder, an organizer, and the director of community initiatives at Project Hospitality. She serves as the executive director of the Staten Island Long-Term Recovery Organization, the co-chair of Staten Island Interreligious Leadership, the supervisor of the Reformed Church of Prince Bay, and serves on several nonprofit boards. In all of these roles, Reverend Pershing works to bring together community resources, elected officials, and community leaders to build power and opportunity for New Yorkers.
Thank you, Ruth. Hi, everyone. I'm really grateful to be with you. This is my third time here, and it's special to be able to share two texts that mean a lot to me. The passage that Ruth read earlier from Peace is Every Step by Thich Nhat Hanh, and then the passage from the book of Isaiah that I read. And, you know, the author of Isaiah in the Hebrew Bible and the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh obviously lived centuries apart from one another in different countries and represent different faiths, but they were both writing to people grappling with the chaos and violence in the world around them and wondering what to do about it, just as we are. So let's be honest about an option that's open to us in response to the suffering that we see, the chaos, the violence in the world. And that option is to just go insular, to isolate ourselves, put up walls around our stuff, walls around our hearts, and guard what we have. It is the focus on our own perspective. When the world feels like it's falling apart, I'm going to protect myself, protect my family, and stick with my tribe. I might lend a helping hand if I can, but it will be for the people I perceive as being like me, or people I deem to be deserving or sympathetic. Do you know people with this perspective? I see it sometimes. I see it in myself sometimes. But I'm involved in supporting the shelters in our borough, housing recently arrived immigrant families. And we have gotten our fair share of protesters, people who, Staten Islanders, who physically have stood outside of these shelters that we're running, holding signs, shouting into bullhorns, calling for the shelters and the people inside of them to be removed. Just go somewhere else. I hear them saying things like, I have to protect my children, or it's not right for city resources to go toward people who aren't US citizens when they could be going toward veterans or senior citizens. That's what I hear. But there are other options for how we respond to the chaos and the violence we feel in our world, how we respond to people who are suffering. The foundational ethic of all the world's major religions is that we are called to love our neighbors as ourselves. And our neighbors are not only our family members, not only the people who live in the same neighborhood or the same country, or who we view as being like us or sympathetic. Everyone is our neighbor. Everyone. Our neighbor is the woman who just fled Venezuela and has stepped off a bus onto Staten Island wearing flip-flops in January. Our neighbor is the man who is addicted to opioids, the emotionally disturbed person on the subway platform, the domestic abuser, and the Trump supporter. Each one a human being, as we are human beings, a person who we are called to love, even if we abhor some of their actions or their opinions, their humanity remains. This ethic, loving our neighbors as ourselves, is so beautifully expressed as well in the African value system called ubuntu. Ubuntu refers to our shared humanity, and it could be translated, I am because we are. I am because we are. An Ubuntu maxim is a person through other people. A person is a person through other people. My humanity comes from being part of a society. We live in a network of mutual interdependence with the earth, the environment that we inhabit, and with all the other people we inhabit the earth with, every one of them. So when others are suffering, we all suffer because we belong to each other and we share responsibility for caring for one another, and no one is excluded from this. Yes, we can allow our society to be one where multi-billionaires exist while countless others go hungry, but there is something deep inside of us that tells us this is unacceptable. This is not how human society should be. It's not how it has to be. If I have seen the suffering of my neighbor, then no matter how far away or how different from me they are, my seeing should lead to acting, or else what is the use of seeing? Thich Nhat Hanh and the Isaiah author agree that when we're aware of the broken places in our society, when we have seen our neighbors suffering, then we are called to meaningful action. Not all actions are meaningful or actually helpful. Staying in our monasteries or churches offering only thoughts and prayers is not on its own meaningful, helpful action. Seeing hunger and then posting on social media about how awful food insecurity is not as helpful as actually feeding people. In Isaiah 58, the prophet delivers God's message to religious people who are fasting to convince God to bless them and to heal their society. And God expresses frustration with the people questioning God, asking God, why are we fasting and you haven't seen it? Why have we humbled ourselves and you haven't noticed and come and fixed everything? But God isn't impressed by people who fast while at the same time exploiting the people who work for them, creating the oppression that has led to their society being sick. The fasting God would choose is that they would see the rampant oppression in their society and then break every chain of injustice. It is to see a hungry person and then to feed them, to see a naked person and to clothe them, to see someone without shelter and then to house them. That is meaningful action that will lift up the whole community from darkness into the light, to be like a light on the hill, an example to others. So for those of us who believe that we are indeed called to use our lives to love our neighbors as ourselves, the next question you might have is, how do I help? How do I help? How do I make sure that what I'm doing is meaningful? Because I do see the suffering, and it is unacceptable to me. But I'm not always sure what to do. I see recently arrived immigrants who need a place to sleep, but I have a one-bedroom apartment and I don't have a bed to offer anyone. And it's true, we can't single-handedly alleviate all of the suffering that we see, although many a well-intentioned activist has completely burned themselves out trying. But we're not doing this work alone. We help by playing the part that we can play. And it's okay if the start is small, because if each local community does something good for the people who are here, then that one small light shines with all the other small lights to drive away some of the darkness of suffering. Your church just built a little free food pantry next to your little free library. And when each of you contributes something, keeps them stocked, one can, one book at a time, then there will always be something for the neighbor who walks by with a hungry belly or mind. In some ways, you're obviously the best person to know how you can help. You know your own resources, you know your own gifts and talents, you know your own limitations. Maybe you have money that you can give to meaningful charitable causes, and that's how you can help, while knowing that you have absolutely no time with which to volunteer. Or maybe you have no money to donate at all, but you do have some time that you can give. Or you have an artistic gift that you can use to bring light into the world. Or the gift of your friendship, the gift of your smile, the gift of your kindness. Help how you can. Just do something. And maybe you're the one suffering in some part of your life with health, with grief, with finances, or a broken relationship, and you need to ask for help. That's the thing about being human. We are all at different points in our lives, both the helper and the one in need of help. That's how it works. Sometimes we won't be the right person to provide the help that someone else needs. You know, there have been a handful of times in New York City that I've encountered someone in public in need of medical attention. I'm not a medical professional. I wasn't the right person to be able to provide them with the medical help, but I was able to call an ambulance and to wait there with them until the ambulance arrived, and I helped in that way. So I really believe that there is great power in being able to connect people in need to the appropriate help. Being that connector is so important. Sometimes it's hard to be honest about what we need help with, and It takes great vulnerability to open up to somebody about that. So when someone opens up to us, we can receive that non-judgmentally with kindness and compassion, and then being the connector to truly help them find the person who can provide the right help. So when we equip ourselves with knowledge of where local resources are, where can people on Staten Island go for help, I think we're better able to help people in a meaningful way when they share their struggles with us. So that's why I wanted to just provide you with something really practical to take home with you today, in the form of these resource packets. If you don't have one, we can get one to you. And there's plenty if you want to take more home with you in English and in Spanish. But I just want to use a little bit of time to point out a few tangible resources that you can connect people to on Staten Island as a way to literally equip you to help others more. So people often ask me, what should I do if I see somebody who appears unhoused out on the street, especially in this type of weather? So I put together a guide on the very back page. The thing you can do is to call 311, get through the prompt at the beginning, and ask for a homeless outreach team to be deployed to where that individual is. I work for Project Hospitality. Project Hospitality oversees the homeless outreach team for Staten Island. They have to respond to every one of those 311 calls within an hour. They have to get to that person within an hour, no matter where else they are on the island. And they're trained to engage that person with kindness, with dignity, just to make sure they're aware of the options available to them, especially when it can be truly dangerous to be outside in the nighttime in weather like this. But here are the things that the outreach team might say to the person, because where you go for shelter intake in New York City depends a little bit on what your household composition is. So if you're a single man or woman, Project Hospitality oversees the Homeless Drop-In Center. It's at 150 Richmond Terrace, open 24/7. That's the right place to go for initial intake. And then it depends on that person's individual needs and circumstances, then where they end up being able to get a placement, whether that's like a church respite bed or supportive or transitional housing. Anyone in New York City who has children has to go to the PATH Center in the Bronx for shelter intake. It's tough for people who live far away from there, but that is the place they have to go. But you can absolutely express a preference for which borough you'd like to be placed in. It's not a guarantee based on availability, but folks can absolutely advocate for themselves on where they want to be with their children. Say you have a married adult couple who's homeless, or a couple who has adult children. There's a special adult family intake center here. And then Project Hospitality also oversees the Homeless Youth Drop-In Center on Staten Island on Port Richmond Avenue, open 24/7 for youth ages 14 to 24. They can come in, get a snack, do their laundry, watch TV, talk to a case manager, get connected to a mental health counselor, and we specialize in serving LGBTQIA youth. Recently arrived immigrants do still at this time have to go to the Roosevelt Hotel for shelter intake. And as you may have heard, their stays are being limited to 30 days or 90 days. But if that 30 days is up in a particular shelter, they absolutely can go back to the Roosevelt Hotel to be re-intaked and placed in another shelter. No one needs to feel like their only option is to sleep outside. There are other options. Say you know somebody who's struggling with buying enough groceries and they're literally hungry, they need access to more food. There's a wonderful website that is maintained by a local coalition called the Staten Island Hunger Task Force. It's called hungryonstatenisland.com. So you can search your zip code and see a list of all the church or house of worship or nonprofit-based food pantry distributions that are closest to where you live. That's a really handy resource. And then also, in the middle here, you can see Project Hospitality's food pantry distribution. Folks can just come pick up a bag, go home, or come for our soup kitchen time. Chef Anthony will have lovingly prepared a hot meal that people can sit and eat in fellowship with other people and have some conversation at the same time. Maybe not everyone knows that we have a mobile pantry distribution that almost, every two Tuesdays and 2 Fridays of every month. We're at all these different intersections across Staten Island at these specific times. So just look for the big white van. Folks can walk up, no questions asked, just grab some fresh produce, some fresh vegetables, a pantry bag to take home with you. There are a lot of options for places people can come to find food if your SNAP benefits are out halfway through the month and you need another load of groceries to feed your family. Healthcare. It's another thing a lot of people have trouble accessing, especially if your immigration status makes it so that you're not eligible to get a traditional health insurance plan through the marketplace or Medicaid. We're also the only borough without a public hospital. So folks who can't go to Rumsey, can't go to SIUH because they fear an inability to pay, sometimes find themselves like having to travel all the way to Bellevue or all the way to Coney Island Hospital. But we do have a health and hospitals clinic on Staten Island at Gotham Vanderbilt. And if you connect folks to Project Hospitality, we can make sure they're enrolled in emergency Medicaid if they're undocumented, or NYC Care, which is a program that allows people to pay for their health care at health and hospitals on a sliding scale according to their income. The show van is kind of a new resource on Staten Island, so I included their flyer here. That's like a health and hospitals mobile health unit that deploys to Staten Island once a week now at these particular intersections and times. So folks, whether or not they have insurance, can walk up to the show van, get your COVID booster, get your flu shot, get an at-home COVID test, get a hygiene kit, wound care, talk to a doctor one-on-one about your particular healthcare concerns, and there's a behavioral health specialist on the van. Project Hospitality also runs a mental health and behavioral health clinic. It's at 14 Slauson Terrace. Someone's in need of therapy, group support, peer support, substance abuse support. That's a great resource to direct them to. We also have a health homes program. So if you know someone who has Medicaid and one or more chronic health conditions, we'll assign folks a care coordinator who will visit them on at least a monthly basis, work with them to make sure that they're taking care of their health, accessing their prescriptions, and can assist with a lot of other things as well. Folks have so many other needs. I would say a great resource just to keep in the back of your mind is the help centers. That's my job. I oversee Project Hospitality's help centers. We have one in Stapleton, one in Port Richmond. There's a team of public benefits enrollers there. If someone's struggling financially, it's always a good idea, just get a screening to see if there are any public benefits you're eligible for or not receiving. I know there are seniors on Staten Island eligible for SNAP, but not getting it, families eligible for cash assistance, and maybe they just need someone to help them know how to apply and to manage their benefits. We can do that at the Help Center. I also have teams of health insurance navigators at the help centers. We can help folks keep their Medicaid recertified, get that emergency Medicaid, NYC Care, get a plan through the marketplace. And I have a health coach too, who can help people who might just be struggling to know how to access the health care that they need or their prescriptions. We have a free tax prep program. You're all gonna get your W-2s soon. So if you're someone who has to file taxes, feel free to utilize this service. I think it's amazing. Like, why spend money at a for-profit company to do your civic duty? And let's make sure that our neighbors are getting their earned income tax credit, their child tax credit, their full refund, so you can have that money in your pocket and use it for other things. At the help centers, even if we can't help somebody with the particular need they walk in with, we might know where to direct them to. We see a lot of people in domestic violence situations, and we'll escort them to the Staten Island Family Justice Center where they can get a case manager, legal help for a domestic violence situation. Same with other legal needs. connection to financial counseling, immigration legal help, ESL classes, GED classes, the Mexican consulate. I've just mentioned like a few social services here, and I hope this resource packet is helpful to you. I could talk for hours about all the other great nonprofits on the island and people doing amazing things to help their neighbors. But I'm going to stop here and just invite you during coffee hour after the service. If you have questions, come talk to me. If you want to give me your email address, I can provide you with this and many other resources in a digital format. And if you have a resource that has been really helpful to you in being the connector and helping other people, I'd love for you to share that with me. So I just want to leave you with a blessing. May you be blessed to be a blessing, to be a helper, to be the light that lifts up our Staten Island community and inspires other communities for the healing of our world. Amen.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much. Okay. Our closing hymn. Please join us in singing hymn 1021 in your teal hymnal, Lean on Me.
We all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me, when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Oh, it won't be long, but I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please, don't you cry if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs like you will manage. So lean on me when you're not so, and I'll be your friend. I'll be able to carry on. Oh, it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll have you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Call on another, you don't care. You don't need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem, but you understand. We all need somebody to lean on.
Okay. I invite you to join me in extinguishing our chalice. You can find the affirmation in your order of service. We extinguish this flame Our closing words, May You Be Changed by Emily Richards. May you leave this time together changed. May the promises you have made to yourself about who you want to be, may those feel closer to the reality of who you are right now. May you share that feeling of transformation wherever you go. May it spread into every word, deed, thought, and interaction until we are all changed, transformed, and transforming together, becoming our better selves. And so ends our service. Please join us in the parish hall for hospitality.